Hi, this is Shankar, and I'm here to talk about Saturn. Saturn, the role of Saturn in predictive astrology. We all know about Saturn, the planet, what it represents. It's a slow planet. It delays. It is the karak of we call delay, frustration, success after delay and frustration. It's a slow moving planet, and it is also takes care of order, structure, and discipline. So this is more or less broadly what we know about Saturn. Saturn is the son of Surya. It was born through the illusionary mother. In the stories actually tell the character of Saturn. It was born through an illusionary mother that was Chaya. And it is also said that when Sun was going to meet Saturn, the charioteer, the person who was driving the chariot, first went to meet Saturn and it cast its spell and it got burnt. So it has its drishti itself is can create harmful impact. So we all know about the story of Saturn also. That also shows that also tells you about the characteristics of Saturn. Saturn is also the karak of your death. It controls your life. And the important thing is Saturn is something like is supposed to be the brother of Yam, and Yam takes care of the highway of death. It's a planet. It is the god which is not married. Yam was there with Yamini, and they were brothers and sisters. Yam did not agree to have any relationship with the sister. Therefore, it it tells about discipline of high order, and Yam goes back. It did not have any child. It did not have. It goes back, and its only role is to take care of death, and it's got its accountant Chitragupt with it, which takes care of all our karmas. And Saturn is supposed to the brother of Yam. It has got the characteristics of Yam, therefore. So these stories, which are there in mythology, actually depict all about Saturn. That is, Saturn is a planet of order. It's a planet of structure. It is a planet of discipline. It is can give delay. It is a planet of depth. It rules everything under the earth. Mines, minerals, metals, all are controlled by Saturn. It is the owner of Capricorn and Aquarius. The Capricorn is nothing. If you look at the Narayan, if you look at the chart as it is, the 10th house is about profession and 11th house is about gains. So I'll come to that. That Saturn is a very important significator of therefore of profession. Saturn aspects the 3rd, 7th, and 10th. The 3rd and 10th aspects are powerful as far as Saturn is concerned. A retrograde planet, Saturn retrograde, any planet which I believe retrograde is like a child, a spoiled child. It will create some problems for you depending on how it is placed, but it will create some issues because it may be an illusion. I mean, it happens. The train also, you're sitting in the train, a train doesn't move, and you feel it's moving for some time. You do get into that mindset that the train has moved. So that illusion creates its issues. So any planet which is retrograde is like a spoiled child, so it will create issues to that effect. So that's the short and long about Saturn. Now let us see what Saturn as is important in astrology for. I mean, apart from it being a karak of enemies, diseases, death, and also it's a planet of spirituality because Saturn, when associated with Ketu and other planets, gives you a deep, tells you to go in depth into understanding consciousness, entanglement with higher energies, and things to that effect. So that is what Saturn normally is supposed to be depicting. But let's understand what Saturn is. And in my experience, Saturn is a very important planet to understand the profession of any native. Saturn placed in a house, aspected and conjunction, actually defines what is going to be the natives, what is the natives going to do, what is going to be its profession. So what you have to see, Saturn, suppose it is in Aries, it's in the house of Mars, so it can give other issues, and it has a Jupiter ahead of it, that is in Taurus. It has Jupiter, or in pieces, that is Jupiter, and Taurus it has Venus. Here, Saturn being with Jupiter and Venus on either side will actually give a person who would be dealing with government, because Venus to a great extent deals with issues of government, what we call as government relation, policy, planning. Venus is a very important karak of anything which requires to dabble with three balls. Venus is critical for that. So today, policy planning, perspective planning, whatever you call it, I mean, that is Venus. You have Jupiter at the back of it. Jupiter is all about law, philosophy, judgment. So then here Saturn, when it is classed between, let's say, it's hypothetical example between Jupiter in Pisces and Venus in Taurus, can give a person a profession where he is dealing with judiciary, he is dealing with regulatory issues, he is dealing with government affairs, he's dealing with a commission. So then Saturn can give these kind of things, even if Saturn is in Mars. When Saturn in Mars, you should understand, when it's in Aries, Mars is a planet of dispute. When so it is like resolution of dispute which Saturn gives. So you have to understand where Saturn is placed and the sign which is placed, what is the characteristic of that sign, and then we start analyzing it. Of course, we say that Saturn is debilitated in Aries because Mars is high energy and Saturn doesn't like high energy. It stays away from high energy. It stays away from moon, which is movement, and sun, which is like heat. So these are the things which do not actually tally with the propensity of Saturn. So Saturn is uncomfortable there. But then it could give you other kinds of issues in case of, that is when you talk about diseases, we talk about deaths, we talk about what is happening in the body. Then it gives those kinds of problems. Saturn is of course well placed and exalted in Libra, because Libra is the lower portion of your body, and that is the portion which produces all the juices. So a very good harmonizing of juices creates a good system by which the hormonal effect in the body remains balanced. So it gives you a better life and a better propensity to work and to think. So that is why Saturn has been given the sign of Libra. Libra is the lower half, that is below your stomach and down below, is all controlled by Libra, and that is the portion which also controls, which also is about your sexual desire. So Saturn is a eunuch. It's supposed to be a eunuch. It is supposed to be a planet which is disinterested. It does not take sides. So when we're talking about issues like sexual hormones being produced, so it is governed by a planet which is not interested in those sexual hormones. So it sees that the appropriate amount of the hormones are produced, and it does not indulge in it. Since it does not indulge in it, it is the owner of that particular area. So that is what is also Saturn signifies. Saturn is a planet which is indifferent. It does not indulge into sexual matters, and therefore it is very comfortable. It is given the exaltation of the sign Libra. It was like पुराने ज़माने में जो पालकी होती थी महारानी की, it used to be carried by eunuchs, because eunuchs had the strength. They could do the job, and the queen used to be comfortable with them, and there was no other kind of tension also with the king and other people so they were given that job. Similarly, Saturn has that a role to play. So Saturn as such becomes a very important planet for profession. If you have to see profession, look at Saturn, how is it placed, and what is important is you should look at the conjunction of the planets in Saturn. Suppose Saturn is a Jupiter. I mean, it doesn't mean Saturn with Jupiter, people say, this horoscope is elevated. No, it doesn't mean that. But yes, the person has got wisdom. Now, Saturn in Jupiter, let us say it is in the sign of Virgo. When it is in the sign of Virgo, Virgo is a sign of Mercury, that sign which wants to have everything. Sab apne taraf le lo. It is that kind of a sign. So when Saturn is with Jupiter in Virgo, it just shows that the person likes to have a wisdom, to know things, and very keen in analyzing and doing business of kinds where there is a lot of analysis, where there is a lot of research, where there is a lot of intake. Now suppose Rahu is also there. Then what happens is Rahu is out of the box. Rahu is governing a lot of things in the metaphysical area. It governs our electronics, communication, the waves, etc. So when Saturn, Jupiter and Rahu are together, then what happens is that, it's a different thing. There a person starts thinking out of the box. He starts getting into bigger kind of the thoughts. It gets engaged into activities which are large. So Saturn, Jupiter and Rahu then will change the entire, in Virgo, will change the entire person. The person could become a very big businessman, a very big planner, a very big consultant. So that is how you have to see the planets with Saturn. And now Saturn, suppose it has a moon on the other side, then it will have a different connotation. But that is, please don't understand, this is, I'm discussing only Saturn as the karak of profession. Now Saturn affecting Jupiter, Saturn affecting Rahu, how will it affect health, family? That's a different issue. So one should understand how to see Saturn in the sign. You have to see the placement, you have to see the aspect, you have to see the conjunction, and then you can come to a conclusion of what kind of profession a person will do, or what is his inclination towards. Today people do kind of education, but that is not necessarily that they go into the same profession. So Saturn is the planet which tells you the inclination of the person and which what he would be going. And as far as astrology is concerned, I very much believe that we are not there to tell tell people to wear stones. Stones are there to increase your willpower, and we should tell them what are the skills they should have. With the right will, and the will and skill together can make a person reach where he wants. Now also another important thing is you have to also see the planets in the 2nd and 12th to Saturn, planets which are respecting Saturn. Now suppose you don't have planets in the 2nd and 12th, please see what is the planet next to Saturn. Like suppose you have Saturn in Scorpio and there is no planet till Aries, and then in Aries you have Ketu. So Saturn, when it moves, just think of the whole play as a cosmos, the whole drama going on. The Saturn, when it moves, it sees no planet. The first planet touches is Ketu. Now Ketu is a planet of delay. It is a planet which gives you whatever. It is a planet of delay which creates kind of delay. It's slow, it delays things. So whenever Saturn, there is Ketu ahead of Saturn, whether in the next house or say 3-4 houses, and there's no planet in between, then you can safely say the person will not get settled in his profession till around the age of 30. The settlement is late. The settlement of job will be late. So that is how you have to see. So you have to make Saturn travel, see the chart and how it travels. So from Saturn, see the planet next to it. For example, I explained you for Ketu. Now from Saturn, if you have 11th is Jupiter, that's good. If you have Jupiter 11th to Saturn, that is, it's a kind of person will gain wisdom, will gain knowledge. Now what is the planet 12th to Saturn? What is the planet opposite to Saturn? What is the planet 3rd to Saturn? If there is no planet, as I said, I gave an example, Saturn is there, next planet is Ketu, there is going to be the settlement of the native will take a longer time. But then between Saturn and Ketu, let's say there is Venus in between, then the whole perspective of the whole thing in profession will change, because it goes and contacts Venus. You have to see what are the degrees between at what degrees it is there. It is in the 3rd house. Venus will have a different connotation. So make Saturn as the main planet for profession, and then see the play of other planets around Saturn, and from that you can evaluate the profession of a person. Also, of course, we give a lot of importance to Dasha, Mahadasha and Bhukti and the transits. Do remember that Saturn is the planet which actually makes things happen. Jupiter or the Mahadasha during the transit can promise some events. The events are promised, but they will only happen if Saturn in its aspect, conjunction or transits energizes those planets. That is my take on large number of horoscopes I've seen. So Saturn is a very important planet in making event happen if it is promised by the Mahadasha, especially in profession. Now here don't confuse Saturn with other things. Saturn with Rahu, as I told you, can create problems with the health of the native. So that is different. Health is different, married life is different, family is different, wealth is different. This is Saturn only as profession. So that is the way you have to analyze Saturn. And remember Saturn as a planet, even when it is strong or weak. Saturn is always good for non-live things. Saturn is not a very good planet for live things. For non-live things today in Kali Yuga, which is of course very important, we give a lot of importance to it. That is wealth, prestige, money, coming, going, reaching a high position, etc. These are non-live things, and Saturn gives you those non-live things. Saturn is not very good for live things, like as family, married life, relationships, matters of sexuality, etc. That is not. Saturn is very, very good for lands. Saturn and Mars together can actually give a lot of landed property to a person. And while you're discussing, seeing all this, please also take into consideration the exchange of planets also. You can have, normally people say Saturn and Mars opposite to each other will not be very good. It will not be very good for some other things, but it will be good for a kind of a profession which is concerned with engineering, metallurgy, etc. It could be good. And if there is an exchange between Mars, say Mars and Venus are in exchange, then actually Saturn is energizing Venus. And when Saturn energizes Venus, it gives you a different order. The order of the horoscope changes. So also see that if Saturn is aspecting a planet and that planet is in exchange with some other planet, put the planet with which it is in exchange there, and see that the energization of that planet is taken into consideration when we analyze profession. This is a very deep subject, and in a small video I cannot explain you all the intricacies, but this is how you have to see Saturn as for profession. I've also told you about live and non-live things. You have to see how Saturn moves, and it is the most important planet in the horoscope for profession. This video is only for profession. Again, to repeat, don't mix it for other things. Don't mix it for other. It could be negative for certain other things. So every planet has its positive and negative. So that is what Saturn is all about, and that is how you have to see Saturn in the right perspective in the whole system of things. Saturn is like the Supreme Court. Saturn has a very important position. It is like a judge sitting in the Supreme Court, and that is the power of Saturn when we do astrology and see the aspect with this planet, which planets are ahead of it, which planets are behind it, how much ahead, how much behind, and then as I explained, you have to see the play of planets, and that is how you analyze that how a person will move in his job. He will take up, suppose Saturn first contacts Jupiter in the 3rd house, he could be a professor. Then if he contacts Rahu ahead in the 11th house, the person may get into business. He may get into research and development. He may make money also, because Rahu is a planet. So that is how you have to see how Saturn energizes planets, and then takes you into different professional paths. Obviously, you have to look at the Dasha Mahadasha. And I've also told you about the concept of transit. I hope you'd like this video. Whenever I have time, I do give these videos which make you to think. That's about all. And astrology as a science should be only used for counseling people. It should not be used for telling people that this is destiny. It's not. You cannot fix a match. Nobody can. So that's my take on this planet Saturn. I hope you've enjoyed this video. All my email ID and contact, etc. is down. You can always contact me. Thanks. Bye for now.